All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar called Next Level Tools for Wealth Managers on Salesforce Financial Services Cloud. My name is Diana, and I am with CRM Science, and we're so grateful for all of you taking the time to join us today. I want to start by introducing CRM Science, and I have some highlights on the next slide. As some of you may know, we are a Salesforce Gold Consulting Partner. We're also a Salesforce.org Impact Partner, as well as a Product Development Outsourcer, also known as PDO. And so what that means is that we help our clients maximize the value of the Salesforce platform. And so we are a full-service consulting firm. You can count on us from anything from strategic consulting to implementations. We also do custom development, and we take it all the way through to user adoption, user experience, and ongoing support as well. And so, yeah, we're excited to have you join us and learn more about us. On the next slide, I have some very light housekeeping. Everyone is muted on this call, but if you have questions, I encourage you to type them into the Q&A feature here in Zoom. And towards the end of the webinar, we'll take a moment to answer your questions. And if we don't get to your question, don't worry, we can always reach back out to you at a later time via email. Also, we are recording this webinar, and you will be receiving a link to the recording as well as a PDF of the slides that we're presenting today. And so you should expect that either later today or tomorrow. And so with that, I'd like to hand it over to today's speaker, Linda Johnson. Linda, take it away.
Thank you, Diana. So I'd like to welcome everyone. Of course, my name is Linda Johnson. I'm also known as the Salesforce Godmother. I've worked in the Salesforce ecosystem for 19 years and have been a member of the CRM Science team for 4 years. In fact, my 4-year anniversary was on Monday. I started my career in the banking industry where we implemented Salesforce, was just the professional version, very different then compared to what it is today, and how I wish we'd had Financial Services Cloud back then. So Salesforce sure has come a long way since those days. Okay, so today's webinar is all about Financial Services Cloud, or FSC. So I may make references to it by the acronym of FSC. Although FSC can also be used in the insurance industry, commercial and retail banking, or in the mortgage vertical, my emphasis today really is going to be on uses applicable to wealth management. During the webinar, I'll hit on a few of my favorite highlights, but by no means is it everything that I like about FSC. Our agenda includes a discussion on person accounts and households, financial accounts, action plans, life events, financial goals, and finally, I'll talk a little bit about Spring 21 enhancements, which rolled out last week. All right, so before we really get started, I want to ask a question and take a little poll here. So I want to see how many of you are currently using Salesforce Financial Services Cloud. So if you could please respond when Diana posts the poll, we'll give you a minute or so to respond.
Yep, and everyone should be seeing the pop-up on their screen with the question. Take a moment to answer, and we'll give it another 30 seconds or so. Okay, almost everyone has voted. I'll give you a last chance. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Here we go.
Okay. So it's almost split in half. Oh, one's not sure if they're using Financial Services Cloud. So, well, hopefully after this, you'll know whether you are or not. Anyhow, so we're split pretty much 50-50. Okay. So I found this quote that said, clients value time and attention from their advisor. True. The future fewer clients and advisor time is spread across, the more attention each receives. And it says this dynamic is particularly relevant in periods of market uncertainty when advisor time and personal attention is even more valuable to clients. So, in preparation for this webinar, I ran across this quote and thought, what if you have a system that can give you all the information you need at your fingertips so you could focus on more clients and still give them the time and attention that they need and crave from a financial advisor? That would be great, right? Well, I feel that the system that can provide this depth of information is Financial Services Cloud. FSC is built on the Sales and Service Cloud, and it extends the capabilities so that wealth managers not only have a holistic view of their clients, but that they can manage the key information about their clients in one location with the full features of Sales and Service Cloud. So you get everything in Sales and Service Cloud plus all the stuff on top of FSC. It really provides an extended data model so that you're able to capture and track financial information, referrals, goals, life events, education, employment, plus so much more. All right. So, as I stated earlier, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 19 years. And at one point, person accounts were considered persona non grata in the ecosystem. Well, at least for many admins, um, as there were definite gaps in the features and functionality of person accounts. I'm happy to report that this is no longer the case. And I really love working with person accounts. I always did like them. However, Salesforce has invested a lot of resources into building out the functionality. I think they work great. Person accounts are used to represent your clients, and they're really a hybrid object of the account and contact. Person accounts can provide a single object experience, and it intermixes account and contact fields. Additional features of person accounts are cheddar follow capability, duplicate management, and enabling as a community user, which was one of the big drawbacks way back early in my career. One thing to note is that once you turn on a person account, you cannot turn them off. As a counterpart to person accounts, FSC also has what's called an individual model. However, from really everything that I have been seeing lately and reading, Salesforce is trying to move away from the individual model. And in fact, I've seen where they're recommending that any new implementations that you really start with person accounts. If you're currently using the individual model, you need to develop a well thought out strategy and plan before moving to person accounts. But Salesforce is encouraging people to move to person accounts. Along with person accounts, household is another central feature to the data model. And households are a custom group record type that is actually shipped with Financial Services Cloud. So when you install FSC, you get households. Households are used to just what they say, they're used to manage the members of a household, such as spouses and their dependent children. You can also relate other individuals and groups outside the household, for instance, an attorney or an accountant. Um, but in addition to the relationships you see on a household. You also have roll-ups from the individual members of the household. So the roll-ups can include all the financial accounts. So you'll see your financial account information, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, not only on the client records, but rolled up to the household level. You'll also see goals, assets and liabilities, events, tasks, and referrals. Um, just as a note, best practice is to create the household account first and then create the person account records from the relationship map on the household. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about financial accounts. Of course, we're talking wealth management. Financial accounts are core to wealth management. Um, and a financial account is really any account that's managed by a financial institution. Out of the box, FSC supports many types of financial accounts. They support checking accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts, 401ks, mortgages, credit cards, insurance policies, just to list a few. Financial accounts are reflected, like I said earlier, on the client record of the owner or owners of the financial account. However, when it's rolled up, the financial account is determined by the primary owner of the account and their related primary household. So, what do I mean by that? So, for example, if a husband and wife jointly own a brokerage account, you're going to see that full account information on their each of their individual person account or client account records. And then through roll up by lookup fields, it rolls up to the household level, but it's only represented one time. If individuals of different households jointly own accounts, the total is still shown on each individual client record. But again, it's only rolled up to the primary account owner's household. So it's only going to be reflected in one household total. Related to financial accounts, FSC also provides related objects for holdings, securities, transactions, and billing statements. Um, Typically, these financial accounts plus related records are created and or updated via integrations from other systems, such as Orion or Tamarack, just to name a few. Action plans. So action plans are one of my favorite features of FSC. Some use cases for action plans would be client onboarding, managing rollovers, for instance, a 401k moving to an IRA, or case resolution processes. Action plans allow you to capture repeatable tasks and then automate the task sequences, which really improves collaboration and productivity. Through the use of reports and dashboards, you can monitor progress of the action plans and ensure compliance. Action plans are created from action plan templates. So you have two things. The template defines the task or you can now include document checklist items required to complete a given business process. Each task on the action plan is given a priority, a number of days in which it must be completed, which is called the date offset, and who is responsible. So it can be assigned to a user or queue. Deadlines are calculated using the start date and date offset defined in the action plan template. Um, as an added note, the action plan creator can choose whether the date calculations are based on calendar or working days. So it's not the template itself, it's the action plan when it's created from the template is when you decide how the date calculations are calculated. You can create action plan templates for standard and custom objects. If you're doing it for custom objects, you must have activities enabled. Makes sense, right? When an action plan is created, tasks and other items are managed through the standard Salesforce interface. So even though they're action plan tasks, they are tasks. So you're going to see them in the normal standard Salesforce interface. Depending on your Salesforce configuration and available licenses, target objects for action plan templates can include accounts, asset and liabilities, business milestones, financial accounts, financial goals, opportunities, person life events, which we're going to talk about, and residential loan applications, just to name a few. So that gives you an idea of where you can build action plans, and if you have business processes and need to automate them, action plans is a good way to go. So life events. Another thing that I really like in FSC, life events are key events in a client's life that can give you context into their life. And one of the things it'll help you do is facilitate engagement, in addition to providing you with cross-selling, upselling opportunities. We're all in business to make money, and knowing the key life events about your clients just gives you a more touch points to reach out and interact with that client. I'm going to really focus on life events, but it really is life events and business milestones. Two different components, they work very much in the same way. When you see the component, it really is an interactive visual storytelling interface. Out of the box, Salesforce provides you with default life event types for birth, graduation, job, marriage, relocation, car, home, baby, health condition. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and retirement. But those are all out of the box. You can also create your own event or milestone types. You can activate them, deactivate them, and make them unique. So, what does that mean? If you make them unique, it means that for a given individual, that event or milestone can only be created one time. What would an example of that be? That might be their death. Okay, so you don't really want to show that on the timeline. It would be something that you would create and then come up on the timeline. Um, Another thing to note is that repeated instances of life events are grouped together. So if you like to track car purchases or something similar to that, and your clients purchase multiple cars, you're going to see one purchase life event with multiple records behind it. I don't know if you can see on my screen, but there is one. There's a little number up in the upper right-hand corner of the life event, and that shows you that there's more than one life event for that icon. If you don't like the icons that come with the life events, well, you can change them. Maybe you have other icons that you want to use. Um, One of the nice things is that advisors can quickly create additional records and associate it with a life event or business milestone without even leaving the page that they're on. Some actions that can be created directly from life events are, so you can create an action plan on a life event. You can create a new case, new opportunity. So maybe there's a life event coming up that someone's retiring, and so you'll have an opportunity to maybe move some money into your firm. a new lead or referral. And those are just a few of the things that you can actually create right from a life event. Another thing is when you hover over a life event or business milestone, you do get to see an expanded lookup card, and it's going to display some key fields that your admins have customized to be able to show you information about that life event. A few things to keep in mind about life events, and this is where if you're moving, you're switching a person account record to a business account, which you can do. Um, Not always something you want to do, but if you convert a person account to a business account, you retain the associated life events. However, they don't appear as business milestones, because remember earlier I said life events and business milestones are 2 different things, or actually 2 different objects. But they do appear on the related tab of the account record page. They just are not gonna be business milestones. On the flip side, when you convert a business account to a person account, it deletes the associated business milestones. So I just caution you, if you're converting records from business to person or person to business, and you're using life events or business milestones, there are some implications. Okay, let's talk about financial goals. So this is another way um, to understand your clients, what their needs and goals are. Um, and it just helps you get a better, more in-depth picture of what your clients are thinking and planning. Financial goals can be used to track um, your client's progress towards major purchases, retirement savings, or just other life goals. It does have a nice graphical interface. As you can see, there's a chart or a diagram that's showing how much percent complete it is. Um, but some key things to know about financial goals. These are only savings oriented goals. So you can't create a financial goal for paying down a debt. You also can't associate a goal with a specific financial account. So you can't create the financial goal off the financial account. Financial goals, though, can roll up to the individual's primary household. So if you have individuals in a household that have financial goals and you have it set up, you can have it set up to rolling up to the whole household. So from a household level, you're able to see what the financial goals are of that household. All right. Last but not least, I want to talk about some of the Spring 21 enhancements. When I was going over this and prepping for the webinar and just catching up with what are the new things in the Spring 21 release, most of the new functionality for Spring 21 was based on the insurance industry. I'm not going to go over those things. There were, however, several items to note that as it relates to the focus of this webinar. Um, we've included links in this slide, and when you get a copy of the presentation, you'll be able to um, check out the links and read up if you want more information. So first, and I am going to click over onto this tab. So roll up by lookups have gotten a big overhaul. And so they're also called RBLs. So Spring 21 introduced the rollout of a new high performance data processing engine for RBLs. This data processing engine definitions can significantly reduce the processing time that aggregates your financial information. It also provides greater flexibility when defining or modifying RBL rules. For example, you can add multiple data sources, define joins and appends, and add formulas to your rules. So it gives you a lot more flexibility than what you've had in the past. The RBL framework will also let you convert your existing RBL rules into data processing engine definitions. I haven't looked too much into that to fully understand it, but I will be testing this out and seeing how it works. One of the things is you do have to turn it on, and you'll see from this screenshot that there's some settings you'll have to enable. So next, we have interaction summaries. So what are interaction summaries? I think this is a significant thing that came out in spring 21. With this new interaction summaries data model, financial advisors can take detailed meeting notes, specify the confidentiality level of the notes, and add action items or next steps. They can also add multiple attendees, um, and notes that contain confidential information can be shared with relevant stakeholders to really maintain compliance. Searching and filtering is also enabled, and really with the searching and filtering functionality, it helps you prepare for your next meeting. You're going to see here on the screen, there's an interaction summary that shows up. Interaction summaries do need to be enabled. So they have to be enabled by your admin. Next is the Actionable Relationship Center, or ARC. ARC came out a couple releases ago. I'm not sure exactly when. It's similar to the relationship mapping tool, but it further enhances the advisor's experience by adding the ability to quickly see all related lists at a glance without having to navigate away from the page. So let's see if this, and yeah, I did have a login to my Salesforce Dev org. I wanted to give you an idea of what the Actionable Relationship Center looks like. However, my org logged out, so I'm not going to take the time to log back in. But from ARC, your users, it allows them to click on each related record to further expand the relationship map. So just picture that you basically have your relationships. If you go into household, you'll have all the members, and then who are those members related to. So as you click on the individual records, it expands into a different set of related lists. One of the biggest things that have changed with ARC is the ability to display up to 10 related lists. So it gives you an even deeper depth of information that you can drill into with Spring 21. Last piece is compliant data sharing. It was interesting when I started looking at this new feature, because several years ago, we worked with a client that had a unique data sharing model. And if anyone's ever tried to work within the boundaries of how you share records within Salesforce, sometimes it doesn't meet your needs. So we had built out a model where you could share records. And when I looked at this compliant data sharing, It was real similar to what we had built out. I just thought that was interesting. So really, what is compliant data sharing? It lets your admins and your compliance managers configure advanced data sharing rules, so that they can really help improve compliance with regulations and company policies. Um, they can This control is done declaratively, so you don't have to use complex code. Um, with Spring 21, compliant data sharing is now also supported on the interaction summary object. It had been supported on the account and opportunity objects, but now it's also supported on the interaction summary object. More details about the Spring 21 release can be found in the slide deck. I also added an additional link for additional details on compliant data sharing. I just find it very interesting, how you set it up and how it works. So that is everything that I have today. Um, so Diana, are there any questions?
Yeah, and that was great, Linda. Thank you for that. If anyone has any questions, I encourage you to type them into the Q&A now. We have already received some questions, and I took a look at them earlier. We have a couple of questions about action plans, Linda, so I want to start with that. Someone is asking, because birthday well wishes are so important in the RIA space, would we be able to leverage action plans for this? And then as a kind of follow-up question on that, would they also be able to use it for onboarding new clients?
So onboarding new clients, I can definitely, that is a huge use case for action plans. I'm not sure how you would do it for birthdays. I would have to understand a little bit more about what you would want to do and how you would want to do it. Um, I don't know if you send a birthday card, you just want a reminder. I might use another means instead of action plans for that. But again, until I would understand your business process for birthdays, I wouldn't know how to answer, but definitely onboarding. Onboarding is key.
Okay. So the next one is also around action plans. This person is curious about your thoughts around using what was previously called guided action lists instead of action plans. Do you have any thoughts or best practices around that?
Uh, no, I think I like action plans better. I do want to say that I think um, and it's just how Salesforce, the direction they take on some things. Um, they're building out the functionality and the features a lot more in action plans. Um, it, Not to say that there probably aren't some limitations and aren't going to meet everybody's needs, but I do like the way they are set up. There are a couple things that, you know, if I had my way, I'd say, well, let's add this functionality. I think they're putting in a lot more effort into building out the functionality and action plans. Personally, I just like them better.
Okay. And then I think you actually mentioned this, but maybe you can clarify again. Someone is wondering how do they see tasks assigned through an action plan?
Okay, so just like you would create tasks, it is just that, it's a task. And so when you create a task, you had a phone call from someone and you need to create a follow-up task. action plan tasks are going to show up exactly the same way. So if your admin has them configured, you can put a component on your homepage that shows today's action list or today's task. They're going to show up there. There's multiple ways for you to be able to see it in Lightning. And I hope, I'm going to put my little plug in for Lightning. I hope everyone's on Lightning, and FSC is Lightning, so it's not in Classic. But I'm hoping that so you're going to be able to see your task just like you would any other task. I hope that answers the question.
Cool. We have more questions about action plans. Do they have time-bound or dependent steps? So for example, don't create task number 2 until task number 1 is completed.
That is the one issue with action plans, and I'm trying to think of the word, that they don't have. So they are not interdependent. So they cannot do that. Now they do have the number of days it has to be completed by based on the start date, but you can't say that 2 doesn't start until 1's completed.
Okay.
I'm hoping that in the next release or 2, and this is safe harbor because I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know what's on the roadmap, but I'm hoping that this is something they're working on.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then the next question is, do you have any best practices for individuals who we have multiple relationships with? So for example, a person is a head of a household for a personal client household account, but then also the primary contact as a business account or for a business account.
Okay, so yeah, here I can get myself into a lot of trouble. There's so you would set up the person accounts. What I would do is set up the person account. They are a member of the household, and then through relationships, you can add them as related. I'm doing quotes, which you can't see me doing, related contact to that business account, and show them there that they are. You wouldn't be able to mark them as primary on the business account, but you can have custom fields to note that they are, or on the relationship junction object. Note that this is the primary contact for that business account.
Okay. So
And relationships are really hard, but one of the things I just want to add, Diana, I'm sorry. There are different relationships that you can maintain in FSC. So it's one of the areas I didn't go over in this webinar, but there is a lot built out around relationships because that's so important to wealth management and just, I think, the financial industry as a whole. Okay.
Great. We're going back to action plans.
See, that's my favorite thing.
Well, it seems to be everyone's favorite. So can you set tasks in action plans based on due date instead of start date?
No, it's all based on a start date.
Okay.
As far as I know, so I'm gonna just, yeah, it's start date.
All right. Let me see which ones we did not cover yet. There's a question around whether there are features only available in Financial Services Cloud that you just went over.
I know there are, but this is one of those things, and I'm gonna apologize in advance, that I will look up. There is so much to know about it. that if you're looking at a specific feature, I would have to say, oh, you can only get this in FSC. I know there are some, and there are actually basically a matrix that says, here's what you get with Sales Cloud, here's what you get with Service, here's what you get with FSC. And oh, sometimes maybe if you pay extra, you would get that. But I know there are some definite things that are FSC related only. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
and you just mentioned Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. We actually have a question about that as well. Can we convert our Sales and Service Cloud to Financial Services Cloud and still leverage the better data model?
Yes. So FSC is built on sales and service. So it is a managed package that you install on top of your sales and service cloud. And so FSC is built on top of that. And what it does is it just gives you added functionality. So you're using opportunities, you're still going to use opportunities in FSC. You have uh, a huge case build out. You're using email to case and web to case and all the features and functionality of case management. You're still going to have that in FSC. So FSC just installs on top of Sales and Service Cloud, and there are definite configurations you have to go through and definite setup. So you really want to plan it out and think about um, how you're going to roll it out and how you're going to implement it.
Okay. And then we have I guess a similar question, but I think a little more difficult to answer, and we can take that offline if needed. But the same question for an organization that's been using custom built objects and, migrating to FSC. Is that an option? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is an option. So anytime you have something that's custom built like that, again, you're going to want to put some thought and planning into it, but you can definitely migrate that to the FSC data model. The nice thing about it is with FSC, Salesforce is constantly building and enhancing the functionality, giving you more features. Um, so you're going to get the benefit of all of that as it comes along. Like I said earlier, I mean, I started in the banking industry. I wish we'd had FSC back then because we had to do a lot of what it does now by ourselves. So I kind of understand where you're coming from.
All right, and then I see one last question, or at least for now, about person accounts and what are some considerations uh, we need to take into account when switching from individual to person accounts?
Okay, so you really want to look at your any custom code that you have, any packages that you have around it. Um, you so triggers, your flows, your workflow rules, because individual data model works differently than person accounts. And so anything that really touches it, so components, your reports, you're going to have reports built around these individuals. So you're going to have to look at all the reports that are going to be affected and update your reports. Data sharing, just your business processes, um, any integrations, and if you have app exchange packages. So there are definitely things you need to consider, and it will involve planning and put together a business plan on how you want to move it.
Great. Some great questions we're getting today.
They're awesome.
Yeah, and but I think those were all the questions. I'm not seeing any more. So I think we are ready to wrap up. If you can go to the next slide, Linda. So as I mentioned earlier, everyone's going to receive the recording and a copy of these slides. If you want to learn more about Financial Services Cloud, or just would like to chat with us about what you're working on in Salesforce, where you want it to be in the future, feel free to reach out to us. I've included our contact information here, and we'd be happy to continue the conversation after this webinar. And yeah, all that's left to say, I think, is thank you so much for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it. And we hope to see you again next time on one of our webinars or somewhere else. So yeah, thanks everyone, and take care.
Have a great afternoon.